This is some revision of aspects you already know about English language and also very specific information about the key features of a beginner's guide. Now, occasionally that's called a how-to guide. So a beginner's guide will normally inform the audience about a topic and maybe give them advice on how they can do that same topic. So, for example, if I was going to write a beginner's guide on how to run, I might I might write down some information about things you need for running. So maybe I'd talk about the clothing that you need and the apps you need to download if you want to track yourself, and the preparation you need to make with what you eat and what you drink to be a successful runner. And then I might give some advice for people that are thinking of getting into running. So I might say things like start off with something easy, like the Couch to 5K program, which will take you through step by step. I might give them advice and say things like you could only run every other day because it gives your muscles a chance to recover and repair and fix themselves. So that's what a beginner's guide is. Now, all beginner's guide have particular key features. They will always have a title, and that will normally reflect the fact it is a beginner's guide. So you might have a beginner's guide to running. You might call it How to Be a Good Runner. That might be its title. Then you would use subtitles to separate the different sections in your work. So perhaps I might have a subtitle that says equipment you need before you start running. And then I tell my audience the equipment. Now, I wouldn't bullet point the equipment. It's very important you remember that this is writing. So I want to see complete sentences later on in this lesson. Perhaps another subtitle I might have is tips on things to eat and drink. And I might give my readers some advice on good food. So I might talk about the fact that it's really important to have a lot of protein if you're running, and it's really important to keep hydrated. You should be drinking plenty of water. You should also try and use modal verbs like could and should. Now, modal verbs are verbs that suggest how much you should be doing something. So, for example, when you're in school, I might say, you must do your homework. And that modal verb must tells you you definitely need to do it. If I used a different modal verb, like might, if I said, you might want to do some extra reading this weekend, you know that might is suggesting that you don't have to do it. So if you must do something or you might do something, it tells you different levels of how much you should do it. So common modal verbs are could and should. Now, later on in the lesson, there's a modal verb activity. So other modal verbs you could use in this activity could be might, will, would, must. There's a few others you could use there. Beginner's guides, like any piece of transactional writing, should use Da Forest techniques. Now, you've done Da Forest a lot, but if you can't remember what Da Forest is, the D stands for direct address. That's where you directly address your reader. So using the word you often does that. A is alliteration, where you have words placed closely together that start with the same sound. So if I said wonderful world, that would be an example of alliteration. F is your fact, a true statement. O is your opinion. So I might say, I think running is a really fun thing to do, but not everybody is going to agree with me. R stands for repetition or rhetorical questions. We've used these lots in our work. E stands for emotive language. That's where you use language that's going to make your reader feel a particular emotion. Maybe they might feel shock, they might feel horror, they might feel anger, they might feel pity, they might feel sadness, they might feel happy. S is statistics, so that's a number fact. You can make these up for the purposes of your writing, but just make sure they sound fairly logical. So I might say, I run on average 12 miles a week. That's probably fairly accurate. If I said I run on average 3 million miles a week, I don't think anyone's going to believe that. Inform and advise your audience. So I've already talked about that. and write in a lively and humorous tone. What that means is you want to try and engage your audience. We don't want to be boring. So you might want to make a couple of jokes. You might want to think about your audience, try and use a little bit of humour. But if you're not confident doing that yet, you don't have to do that at this point.